Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Tack, and I'm the pianist with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to our Baja 4 services each week. Stick around after the postlude. I'll tell you a little bit about the music I played.
Welcome to this Baja 4 collaborative worship service. My name is Nina Tolley, and I'm a member of UUCT. Whenever you're joining us, wherever you are worshiping from, you are welcome to bring your whole self here now. We are the Baja 4, representing Unitarian Universalists across southeastern Arizona. As Unitarian Universalists, we love beyond belief and find inspiration from a wide array of spiritual, religious, and secular sources. We come together as Baja 4 because we know we are stronger together. We represent Borderlands Unitarian Universalists in Amado, Sky Island Unitarian Universalist Church in Sierra Vista, Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Northwest Tucson, and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson on the east side of Tucson. We take inspiration from the landscape around us. We find in our desert stories of resilience and change, beauty and interconnection, death and life. We acknowledge that this land that was stolen from the Chiricahua, Apache, Pascua, Yaqui, Udam, Opata, people who are the indigenous ancestors of this land, are neighbors today. Please take a breath with me to express your gratitude for all the indigenous people who have stewarded this land for thousands of years and continue to do so today. Breathe in, breathe out. Today we will be discussing the fifth Unitarian Universalist principle, which says, we covenant to affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. And now I will lead us in our chalice lighting words. If you have a chalice or candle nearby, please light that with me as I say these words by Reverend Eric Walker Wilkstrom. When we light our chalice, everyone focuses on the flame, yet it is the paraffin of the candle, the cotton of the wick, the potassium chlorate and sulfur of the match, and the oxygen in the air around us that makes the flame possible. As leaders, we are not called to be a lone beacon on a hill. Rather, we are meant to work together so that we might together shine.
Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say yes we can. Resilience.
Hi, my name is Shakayla Wanyama, and I'm the music director at Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I was asked to share a few words with you about the song you just saw, the song called Resilience, and it really has come to mean a lot to me over the years. I was first introduced to the song by my friend Abby Bettinas, who is a composer, and she is also one of the editors of the Justice Choir Songbook, which is a public domain assembly of songs that is meant for people to be able to sing and use in moments of social protest. Either, just to be singing in community or while out in the streets and actively protesting. And so she wrote Resilience, and we had fun as an MVUU, some members of our choir, trying to assemble a virtual choir performance of it. So I'm going to share with you Abby's reflection on the piece that she wrote and has included in the Social Justice Songbook. This is from 2017. Resilience is a mindset born in the hardest days, when you're scared or sad or tired, when progress toward your goal is slow and the barriers seem impenetrable. And yet you keep going because somewhere deep down you know that what you are fighting for will be so much better. As a 3-time cancer survivor, I continue to learn about resilience. And it is true indeed that Abby has had cancer 3 times in her young life, and each time managed to beat it and come back stronger. And to me, as her friend, someone who is more joyful and even more vigorous and full of life, which is a pretty high bar if you've met Abby. I will say also, that resilience is a theme so many of us have been working with and thinking about and practicing, whether we have acknowledged that for ourselves or not, since March, when the pandemic kind of hit with COVID-19 and all of our day-to-day routines were upended, whether that is an impact on our work or on our family life or on just our usual day-to-day activities. We have had to learn to adapt and survive And I think now many of us are discovering even thrive longer than maybe we anticipated back in March when this all hit. I also think we're thinking a lot about resilience in the world. We're thinking about, some of us are waking up to the fact that some of us live and practice resilience every day in ways that we did not know about. People from different backgrounds, people of different life experiences have had to practice resilience in extraordinary ways, ways that maybe perhaps we are surprised to learn about, ways that we marvel at, and ways that we wonder, gosh, how did I miss that that was what your day-to-day life looks like and requires? I take great hope these days in the resilience of the world, in resilience of nature, and in being reminded that our human lives are just a very, very small part of the larger universe. That although right now things are challenging for many of us, if not all of us, that the challenges we face now are minuscule in comparison to the life of the trees and the cacti and the world around us, truly. And so as we work for change, whether that be in our own lives and in our own selves, or whether that be in legislation or climate change policy or in social justice, immigrant rights, racial justice, whatever that looks like for us, to remember that truly, if we can move beyond focusing on the question of, can I do it? Can I make it through this? And move into the assumption that, as nature has shown us time and time again, we can get through this. That resilience becomes an easier and easier practice, and we focus more and more on the possibilities.
For our inspiration today, I would like to read a poem by Marge Piercy, To Be of Use. The people I love the best jump into work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves and ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go in the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust, but the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn, are put in museums, but you know they were meant to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
I will be your standing stone. will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you.
My name is Howard Tolley of UUCT, bringing you reflections from Ohio on the fifth UU principle that affirms the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. How timely for us to celebrate the democratic process in today's service, as the nation mourns the passing of John Lewis, architect of the 1965 Voting Rights Act that empowered Black citizens. And in just 9 days, we mark the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment granting women the ballot. Let me begin with a conscientious Buckeye, the UUA honored with the 2016 Holmes Weatherly Award for a lifetime of good work. UU civil rights attorney Al Gerenstein fought for the rights of a gay couple married out of state. One of them was dying of ALS, and they learned Ohio would not recognize his partner on the death certificate. Al's Cincinnati lawsuit became the lead case, resulting in the Supreme Court's ruling that established a U.S. constitutional right for gay marriage in all 50 states. In a different lawsuit to protect Black voting rights, Al challenged the Republican Party from deploying special observers in minority polling places as an illegal attempt to intimidate persons of color from voting in a presidential election. When the federal trial court rejected that claim, the Democratic Party recruited lawyers to observe at every polling place where the Republicans turned up. Both parties have been guilty of voter suppression. After the Civil War, Democrats in the South disenfranchised newly empowered former slaves by introducing literacy tests, the poll tax, gerrymanders, and all-white primaries. During our lifetime, the Republican Party has suppressed the Black vote by gerrymandered districts, purges of voting rolls, and unreasonable ID requirements. Recently adopted partisan limits on absentee voting and Postal Service cutbacks raised significant alarm about this November's presidential election that might yet again result in an electoral college outcome at odds with the popular vote. The First Amendment provision for separation of church and state did not impede the efforts of nonpartisan religious leaders like Martin Luther King or UU activists to empower Black voters. A nationwide 2020 UU the Vote campaign has enlisted volunteers in mobilization efforts to promote greater turnout. After signing on to that UU initiative, I now feel too constrained by the nonpartisan limitation of church-related activism. Al Gerenstein's work as a partisan litigator and UU friends who have done partisan text banking have convinced me that I should volunteer for specific candidates working to turn out only those voters who share my values. At the same time, I plan to continue advocacy for enhanced voting rights at the congregational level and at General Assembly. Neither my Cincinnati congregation, St. John's UU, nor the UU Church of Tucson has granted me absentee voting rights that I enjoy in local, state, and national elections. As Nina and I now find Novembers in sunny Tucson more appealing than cloudy Cincinnati, we are able to vote absentee not only for candidates seeking office in Ohio, but also on proposed county tax levies for libraries, schools, and public health, as well as on lawmaking ballot initiatives on medical marijuana and more. Our Cincinnati church only allowed limited absentee voting for the congregation's elected leaders without providing a right to vote on the budget or resolutions of commitment. UUCT bylaws currently require special approval by the board for voting at the annual meeting. Both congregations had voting bylaws amendments on the agenda for their 2020 annual meetings. Despite the pandemic shutdown, St. John's nevertheless succeeded in using the democratic process online for its June 2020 annual meeting. The bylaws have now been amended to allow full voting rights to absentees, and members also approved the budget. As a snowbird who cannot attend UUCT's annual business meeting in person, I look forward to voting for a revised bylaw when the meeting postponed from May is rescheduled this fall. The only congregational representatives eligible to vote for officers and on business resolutions at the annual UUA General Assembly are unaccountable delegates who have paid a hefty registration fee, far more costly than the nominal poll tax in public elections that UUs regarded as unconstitutional. In 2009, the UU 5th Principal Task Force concluded, quote, "The programmatic, worship, and community features of the present GA are generally well received, and some, such as Service of the Living Tradition and the Ware Lecture, are even revered. At the same time, associational governance, the primary purpose of the annual GA, is dramatically broken. The future of our UU movement can ill afford to continue the ways of faux democracy and unaccountable representation." The task force reported that between 2001 and 2008, on average, less than 60% of member congregations had one or more delegates at GA, and the average delegate body of approximately 2,200 was less than 45% of eligible delegates. Delegates participate in GA business with little or no guidance from or sense of accountability to their home congregation. Substantial anecdotal evidence indicates that many, if not most, were self-selected and self-funded. GA is economically discriminatory and therefore generationally discriminatory. The task force called for reforms to assure that subsidized congregational representatives could vote at future biennial GA meetings without paying registration fees. 10 years later, with no change in the pay-to-play GA voting process, UUs at the 2019 Assembly approved a statement of conscience on the corruption of American democracy by moneyed interests. Despite a reference to the 2009 Task Force report, the statement of conscience did not include any action steps to eliminate money from the GA voting process. In its 2020 report to this year's GA, the Commission on Institutional Change also referenced the 2009 Task Force critique, but made no specific recommendations to implement the financial subsidies and accountability reforms proposed a decade ago. Our local congregations can implement several recommendations made by the 5th Principal Task Force. A church board can solicit applications from members who wish to be appointed voting representative as delegates to GA business meetings, and can budget money for registration fees and partial reimbursement of expenses. Prior to GA, the appointed delegates can survey members or hold open meetings at church to explain issues that will be presented for a vote and seek input that might influence their choices. After GA, the delegates can report back to the congregation about decisions taken at the assembly, as well as the extraordinary opportunities they had to engage with UU soulmates from around the country through music, worship, educational program, and social justice activism. Only 87 days remain until the November 3rd election. And in just 9 weeks, absentee balloting begins in Arizona on October 7th. This year, in addition to reaffirming our fifth principle in public elections, UUs must also resolve how to enhance the democratic process in our congregations and our national association, at a time when the pandemic shutdown leaves us dependent on electronic networks. Let's keep on moving forward. As our closing song declares, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land.
Here are words for extinguishing our chalice. We Are One by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us, in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably.
Our Love is Here to Stay, one of the very last songs finished by the Gershwin brothers, George and Ira. Last one's finished before George's untimely death in 1937. Our opening song this morning, my opening prelude this morning, was a blues, sort of loosely based on resilience, because after all, what's probably the best use of the blues is a great way to find resilience in troubled times. Thank you so much.